Let's talk about Tesla and whether it's a bubble that's about to bust, which is what a lot of people have been saying for years as the stock price continues to go higher and higher and higher. So what's the real story here? Also, lately in our videos, we've been talking a bit about politics and how stupid it is on both sides. Well, I recently recorded some footage of me trying to vote and how badly that went. If you want to see that, then I got it at the end of the video, so make sure you watch all the way through. And while we talk about Tesla in this video, it's actually been one of our biggest winners this year. So while we're going through it, if you want to learn more about how we traded Tesla and how we're still in it and managing it, then make sure you check out this free training. There's a link in this video and down below in the description and comments. In it, I explain the exact strategy that I use and that most of our Fallible members use as well. I took a look at my portfolio yesterday and I'm up over 80% this year. So it's going pretty well, and Tesla was a pretty big contributor to it. So again, if you want to see the details about how we made that happen, make sure you check out this training. I will say this is the best way to play Tesla, in my opinion at least. All right, so I got to thinking about this Tesla bubble because of this short article from Scott Galloway. He was comparing Tulips to Tesla. So he said financial crises boil down to a few key elements: easy money, poor regulation, and the consensual hallucination that the market always goes up. This is also what leads to bubbles, right? The crisis is preceded by a cocaine-fueled party where everything and everyone looks and is great. The party creates an asset bubble, which is a wave of optimism that lifts prices well above levels warranted by fundamentals, ending in a crash. The first documented asset bubble was the Dutch tulip mania in 1636, when speculation drove the value of the rarest tulips to 6 times the average salary at the time. And yes, they're talking about the flower here. The prices of the flower went nuts. And then Galloway goes on to say that story stocks are the new tulips, and Robinhood is the E-Trade of our age. And he points to this graph right here, which is the enterprise value over sales, which is one way to look at valuation. You can see Tesla right here is at 15.8 this year. Story stocks and Robinhood have more in common than you'd think. If you want to know what Tesla stock will do tomorrow, just look at how many Robinhood accounts were open today. This is another graph. He shows the number of Robinhood users holding Tesla versus Tesla's share price. And you can see they track pretty closely. The dot-com bubble of the late 90s was a once-in-a-generation tulip-type mania. And now Professor G is saying that things feel very similar. So basically, the professor is comparing tulips to Tesla, which I don't really agree with because I think bubbles can be very different. In some types of bubbles, the assets that are involved in it actually do have some good foundations, but they are thrown out with everything else when the bubble finally pops. So let me give you some examples to explain what I mean. One of the bubbles happening right now, and this is a smaller bubble, is in the trading card space. So things like baseball cards and also Pokemon cards. Yeah, they're back. Check this out. A Pokemon Charizard is worth $150,000 right now. It's nuts. You got big YouTubers like Logan Paul doing live streams of opening Pokemon card packs. And right now the whole space is just super hot again. And you could say, obviously, when one trading card is going for $150,000, that it is a bubble. And this type of bubble with the trading cards is more like tulips, because what is the actual tangible value? Well, a Charizard Pokemon card is literally a piece of paper with some shiny stuff on it, but still a piece of paper that can literally crash to nothing because it's only worth as much as paper. So I don't think that type of bubble can be related to Tesla, because even if Tesla is in a bubble, at the end of the day, they still make something tangible of value. Because even if all the supposed fluff is taken out, what do you have? You still have a car that you can use to get back and forth. And we know that piece of machinery does indeed have value, way more value than a piece of paper. And it's not just Tesla, right? Galloway is saying that story stocks in general are the new tulips. So he's talking about the general stock market. And he's comparing it to the dot-com bubble, because before Robinhood, yeah, it was E-Trade in the 90s with their crazy commercials and everyone was wild about it. Well, here's the thing. In the dot-com bubble, you know who else was a part of that? Google and Amazon. And those companies got hit hard, just like every other company, even the random ones that just threw .com on the end of their name to participate in the bubble, to get their stock price shooting up. Now, of course, those are the ones that went out of business, but Google and Amazon still got hit really hard too. But would you say they were in the same class as those other useless stocks and useless companies? No, of course not, because they provided actual value. And look at them now. So even if you look at the stock market and say it is in a general bubble, there's always going to be some stocks that get hit that are still very valuable as companies. And I would say Tesla is one of those as well. Or for an even better example, you could compare Nikola and Tesla, two very similar companies, and maybe both benefited from the bubble distraction and the froth of all these investors. But at the end of the day, Nikola never had a product. Tesla does have a product that a ton of people use and love. So there is a very clear difference between the two, which you can see now as Nikola continues to collapse. And even the way Galloway describes a bubble, saying it's a wave of optimism that lifts prices well above levels warranted by fundamentals. Well, I think the whole fundamental argument is stupid, because really more than fundamentals, the whole market comes down to psychology. Because who's even valuing stocks? It's people, right? So okay, the stock market is forward looking. It's not pricing what's happening now, it's pricing what may happen in the future or what people think will happen. So when you see Tesla's multiples here and you say, hey, this doesn't make sense, like, no, this is overvalued. Well, to that I would say it's overvalued to who? Because if the market is forward looking and anyone can make a valuation, then yeah, I can come up with some crazy scenarios of what Tesla is going to do in the future, which is basically what people do. They say it's not even a car company, it's a renewable energy company, a battery company, a technology company that's completely changing everything. And I would generally agree with that because that's basically what Elon is doing, not just with Tesla, but with his space company too. So if you think Tesla is going to completely change energy, we're going to be completely off of oil because of Tesla, how are you going to value that? Where's the fundamental anchoring there? How are they valuing Amazon back in the day or Google? Look at what they've turned into. So again, it doesn't make much sense to me to talk about fundamentals in these situations. Now, this might be clear in retrospect, but when you think back to the housing bubble, that might be a little bit different. Sure, it is an asset, it's tangible, you could live in a house, but the way it was being priced was crazy because it's not like housing is a game changer, changing some technology, changing the world. It's still a piece of property. So there I could say, okay, that is a different type of bubble again. It's not a tulip because there is some tangible value, but it's not exactly Tesla or tech stocks either. So my point is that you can point and call everything a bubble, but that's really kind of lazy thinking because these things are actually very different. And also, who cares if Tesla is in a bubble? You can make so much money on the way up before it pops. Bubbles are some of the best places to make money, especially in the stock market. The guy selling this Charizard card is going to make a killing. And the whole point of being a trader is that you want to ride that bubble higher and then get out before it pops. Now, if you've watched our previous videos, you know we've been tracking Tesla from a technical perspective at least. And if you remember, I drew this little pattern right here, technical analysis. Well, it looks like Tesla broke out, and it wasn't a major breakout because, I mean, look at the volume. There wasn't any major news or anything like that. And what I said before was that I was waiting for this pattern to complete and possibly break out when Tesla reported earnings on the 21st, which is coming up, which still might happen because if you've been watching the market, it's just been super strong. So of course, Tesla is going to go up with it. And here's the thing about technical analysis. You know, I drew this pattern, it broke out of it, right? Well, you know what I could also do? Just adjust the pattern. I could move this up here and then I could say, hey, it didn't break out yet. It's still consolidating. So this is where technical analysis becomes a little tricky because really the patterns don't matter as much. What really matters is the consolidation, the coiling that's happening. So if I take this away, what do you see? You still see the thing coiling. And now you could actually draw a different pattern. You could say, hey, this is the pattern that's forming. I wanted to break this line or there we go. There's the new triangle. So these patterns, they always break and morph and form into new patterns, which is fine, but it can get very confusing. And you could end up drawing whatever the heck you want based off the bias that you have. A good example of this is Peter Brandt. He's a very successful trader. Well, he has a service where you can look at all his charting each week. He's a purely technical trader. He's been doing it for years and very successful, like I said. But you get his newsletter and you basically see these charts that he redoes every week. So you can look at that stuff and you see him making a bunch of money, but then you're like, what is he actually doing? It's like he's playing with these little shapes that are constantly changing and he can't even fully describe how it's working. And I'm not saying technical analysis is stupid because it does work for a lot of people. Well, a lot of people, but there is a lot of discretion involved, which is the reason why even when an expert like Peter Brandt is putting out his stuff, you still can't even follow it as a subscriber because you can't see the same things he sees, even though he's trying to tell you what he sees right in the newsletter. I don't know if I'm making sense, but it's the same idea here, how I just drew a different pattern. So when I started realizing that, that's when I kind of moved away from technical analysis as well. So I didn't want to do fundamental analysis and I didn't want to do technical analysis. Instead, what I wanted to do is just trade based off where the money is going. I don't want to trade off what people are talking about. I want to trade off of where they're investing. And in a way, that does go back to technical analysis, I guess, but really price action. But I didn't want to draw patterns. So that's why in this strategy that we talk about in this training, which again, there's a link in this video and down below in the description and comments, we move to more of a quant Quant methodology. So right here you see this TSI table, and the TSI is a scanner that basically ranks every stock in the NASDAQ by its momentum. And the way it's doing that is through a regression analysis. So it's not drawing patterns, it's just calculating the curve of these stocks, or the slope, I guess you could say. It's a little more complicated than that. But basically what it does is it calculates what it calculates, and it spits out the stocks in order of which ones have the highest momentum. So you can see right here, Tesla is number 2. It's a very easy to understand number right here. So with no technical analysis, no patterns or anything, I know Tesla has good momentum, that it should keep going higher. So then what we do with our strategy is we rotate into the top 5 highest momentum stocks each month, and we just ride them higher. But like I was saying before, when you're trying to make as much money out of a bubble that you can, well, the important part is that you get out at the right time too. So that's why the really important part about this strategy, even more than picking the best stocks, is how you actually manage those stocks. So in this strategy, we have everything set of exactly when we're going to exit the positions when they turn against us, when we're going to re-enter. And you'll see in this training, we actually use Tesla as an example. It's actually the one right here. We exit on big drops and then get back in at the bottom. And we're not perfect at that, and we're not predicting the future or anything like that. It's just that that's what we're able to do by tracking momentum, by tracking what other people are investing in. So I personally don't care if Tesla is in a bubble or not, because all I'm doing at the end of the day is sticking to my system. And if the thing is going up, I'm riding it. And when it turns around, I'm getting out. And that's why when I look at my account and it's up over 80%, I'm like, sure, bubbles are great if things are going up. But even better than that is the risk control, so you don't get caught when it pops. And I kind of separate my opinion on Tesla from how I'm trading it. Because my opinion is I'm a big fan. I'm a big fan of Elon and everything. But that doesn't mean I'm not going to sell and jump in later or completely get rid of it out of my portfolio forever. It doesn't matter to me because my trading is separate. And that's really the way to think about it. We can talk about Tesla, bubbles, all the other things we talk about on this channel all day. But at the end of that day, I'm going to be sticking to the system because I'm focused on profits. And you got to act off of what's happening now versus what may happen, because no one can predict the stock market. It's impossible. But anyway, if you want to learn how to use that same system and strategy, check out this free training. And now, like I promised before, let's get into more stupid politics. A place where everyone on every side says one thing but means another, and no one appreciates open discussion anymore. That's just not on the table. That's where we are in 2020. But we've already talked about that in previous videos. So here's some footage of me trying to vote. And don't forget, if you like all this stuff, make sure you subscribe so I can see you in the next video. And remember, stay fallible out there. Here's the video.
Oh my gosh, hi AK, have you voted yet?
Actually, not yet. I'll do that right now, thank you.
I just love our democratic system. It lets everyone voice their voices and tell their truest truths. I've really been doing my part this election too, telling everyone to vote. Did you vote? Did you vote? Did you vote? I'm just such a little activist.
Yep, definitely doing good work.
What are you doing?
What? I'm voting.
For that?
Yeah, it seems like a good idea.
Really? Does it also seem like a good idea to kick a puppy?
Huh?
That is basically the equivalent of what you're voting for right now.
What? No, it's not. This is a good way forward.
You know who else thought they had a good way forward? Hitler.
All right, that's too far.
Is it? Is it really?
You are way out of line.
Excuse me? You're out of line. You are literally stabbing me in the eye by voting for that. Do you like stabbing me in the eye? Is that what it is?
This has nothing to do with you.
It has everything to do with me. This is a direct attack against me right here, right now, by you.
Jesus, okay, then how about I just don't vote?
Oh, now you want to bring religion into this? No. You are not going to get away with not voting. You better do your part.
That's what I'm trying to do.
Just do it the right way.
What do you even mean there is no right answer? It's voting.
If there's no right answer, then why is what you're doing so wrong?
Right, you just want me to vote for what you want.
No, but you are basically a domestic terrorist by voting like that.
This is ridiculous.
I'm tweeting everyone right now, telling them how terrible you are. Get ready to be canceled. How do you even spell a stupid name like AK?
We're still talking about this proposal to put a fountain in the park, right?
You will burn in hell for the decision you've made.